if you need someone to tell you whether you can do this, I'm here to tell you you can do this. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gloria and I'm back with another video. I am back with a video that I promised a lot of you guys, a lot of people that follow me. I have been receiving so many messages, emails, DMs, all sorts of people reaching out wanting me to do a follow-up video on my Knight-Hennessy application video, and so I am here to answer some of the frequently asked questions that I get about the process. The deadline for the application is coming up in about 2 weeks, and I just really wanted to put this out there in, for those people that are, well on their way to applying, or for anyone who's thinking about applying in future. So sit back, relax and enjoy, and hopefully I can help you guys get a bit of clarity around the application process. So I have, of course, my trusty Knight-Hennessy Scholars notebook here, and I've noted down all of your questions and a lot of the frequently asked questions that I get. So I'm just gonna be reading from here, and yeah, so let's get into it. People have been asking me about whether or not they need to write or sit for the GRE, particularly international students, whether they need to write the GRE or some other standardized tests, the LSAT, for example, if you want to get into the law school, or if you want to get into the LLM, as well as the GMAT, and I think the MCAT for med school students. So this is my response for that, and it'll be my response for a lot of things, right? The first thing you need to know is, what are you applying for? Before well, as you're applying for Knight-Hennessy, you also have to apply, you have to do a parallel application, but a different application into the specific program that you're trying to get into, and that specific program will specify exactly what is required for you to be admitted into Stanford law school, medical school, engineering program, history program, anthropology, physics, whatever it is that you're applying for. You have to do a separate application to the Knight-Hennessy application, and that separate application for the specific program will tell you whether or not you are required to sit for the GRE or whatever other standardized test that the program requires. So for my specific circumstance, I was applying into the law school, but into a master's program, so an LLM program. It did not require me to write the LSAT because I was not going into the JD program, which is the first law degree. However, if I was going into the JD program, I would have had to sit the LSAT. And how to do that is find a center near you that allows you to write that exam, that allows you to sit that exam. Look probably at your embassies or companies within your area that offer these exams, and there are also books that you can buy to prepare for the LSAT, to prepare for the GRE, to prepare for the GMAT or MCAT. These resources are there online, so you do have to do a little bit of digging. Often, if not, I think always, the exams require you to pay an exam fee, so think about that as well. This is all stuff that you have to, it's almost like preliminary stuff that you have to kind of know before you even start the process of applying. So at this point, if you haven't written an exam that you're meant to write, it may be too late. It might not be, but it may be too late at this point to start preparing and trying to get a place to sit for the exam, etc. However, if you are applying next year or 2 years from now, then definitely think about this well in advance. Do I need to do I need to write a standardized test in order for me to be accepted into this program? And you can find that out by going to the website of that specific program for Stanford, and then figuring out how much it costs, when the exams are sitting, where the exams are sitting. All of this stuff is stuff that you have to get on quite quickly before you even start the application process, because it can interfere with the deadline for the program itself, as well as the deadline for Knight-Hennessy, which is often earlier than the deadline for the program. The second thing that I get asked about is the essays. Now, I won't necessarily be sharing what I wrote in my personal statement or in my essays, simply because it was a very personal story. But therein lies the trick around writing the essays and writing the personal statement, particularly for the Knight-Hennessy application, which is maybe slightly different to what the program itself is asking you to write. The Knight-Hennessy application tries to have you connect the dots of your life and of your experiences, and try to explain how that all leads to you writing this application and trying to be a Stanford student, and most especially to be a Knight-Hennessy scholar. So what I did was I wrote my personal story, literally my life story. I wrote the things that I'd been through. I wrote about, broadly speaking, the financial hardships that I'd experienced, as well as my journey in the academic space and the importance of education in my life, and why I felt that Knight-Hennessy was a perfect next step in that journey. And so your story could be different. Your story could be about anything that you've been through, experiences that you've had, work that you've done, a problem in your society that you've noticed, that you've been working on, that you think perhaps the tools that Knight-Hennessy can provide will be able to help you in your passion or your vocation or whatever it is that you're interested in. And so it's difficult to prescribe things that you should say in the essays, but what I would say is be honest, be open, to get personal, to get deep. The admissions for Knight-Hennessy are really trying to get to know you as an individual, but they are trying to see whether you can see how the experiences in your life lead up to this point where you're writing this application, and how your experience in Knight-Hennessy will only enhance this broader story that you have. So that's what I can say. It is hard, but I would suggest that you have a friend or someone read over your story and your essays, not only to pick up like typos and grammatical errors, especially if you're not a first English language speaker, but also to just give you perspective on what you've written and whether or not your stories is a good story. But don't feel the need to lie or to make things up. Just be honest, but at the same time try. It is an introspective exercise where you have to dig deep and look into yourself and try to track and make sense of your life, right? And see what are the threads and what are the themes there, right? And then try to put those down on paper. The application to the program. So as I said when I was talking about the GRE and other standardized tests, there are 2 applications that you have to fill out. You have to do your application into the program. So I did a separate application into the LLM program, and then I did another application on another Stanford website into the Knight-Hennessy program specifically. And so that's what you have to do when you're applying to Knight-Hennessy. You have to be careful because, for example, the LLM program, I think our deadline was November, probably mid-November, but the Knight-Hennessy application the deadline was earlier. You have to apply into the program by the time you apply into Knight-Hennessy, which means that you have to have finished your program application before you apply to Knight-Hennessy. So be careful about that. Remember, you are writing 2 different applications. And that leads me into the fourth, I guess, thing that I get asked about, which is the recommendations. The recommendations, I've talked a little bit about recommendations in my previous video, so please check that out. But just bear in mind that the Knight-Hennessy recommendations and your program recommendations, again, as I said, 2 different applications. You can have the same people recommend you for both applications. However, I think it's important for the recommenders to know that Knight-Hennessy is not looking specifically or only at your academic achievements, but it is a leadership program. It's a global leadership program, and it's looking at whether you have the qualities of leadership, caring, working hard, out caring, out working, out thinking. And so it's important that your recommenders understand that, and that they highlight those things, and that they give examples of the way that you worked, and the things that you've worked on, and challenges that you've overcome. So again, it has a very different tone, perhaps not very different, but it does have a different tone and a different emphasis than your academic programs application might have when they ask for recommenders. They might just want to know about your research, about how well you've done, but again, like I said, it really depends with the program. I use the same recommenders for both the Knight-Hennessy application and the LLM application, but I was very specific, and I did, without telling them what to write, because you shouldn't do that. I did emphasize to my recommenders that the Knight-Hennessy application specifically was a leadership program, and that they needed to highlight those qualities and those instances where they have witnessed those qualities in me over our time and our interactions. So yeah, that's what I would say about recommendations. It is important to get someone that you trust, someone that you've worked with for a very long time. It could be a colleague, someone who was you were working under, a boss maybe. It could be an advisor or ex-supervisor, various people in your life. But don't ask a family member or a friend to do it, because there's obviously bias there. So don't ask someone like that, but someone that you've had some sort of either mentorship or professional or academic experience or interaction with would be a great place to get recommended. The TOEFL. Now, again, this depends with the specific program that you're applying to. This program that I applied to, again, that was the LLM program. They did ask us in the application whether we were fluent English language speakers, and there was just an option to say yes or no, and that was it. I think they might have required us to prove that we could speak English fluently or understand English fluently by having a letter from our previous institution or from wherever we worked. And so I think I produced that as part of my application materials. If I remember correctly, I filled out so many applications for so many different schools, so I get it jumbled up, but it was not a problem, and I did not have to write the TOEFL or any English language test, proficiency test, for me to get into Stanford. That may not be the case for your specific program. So again, go to your specific program's website, Stanford Engineering, Stanford English, Stanford History, Stanford, whatever, biosciences, computer sciences, whatever it is that you're applying for. They will list the requirements. If TOEFL or an English language proficiency test is one of the requirements, then you may have to prove that, and you may have to write that. Again, just as with the GRE and other standardized tests, you have to plan way in advance. Make sure that there is a testing center near where you live, or if it's not near where you live, then you have to make arrangements to go there. You have to make arrangements to find the money to pay for the TOEFL test, because it's not free, and then, you know, to have the test sent to the Stanford and to your program. As you can see, this is all very complex, and especially for international students, it is very complex. This is why I emphasize in my previous video, as I'm going to do now, to start early. Again, it just depends with your timing, and it depends with, you know, your deadlines and your schedule, because only you know what your different deadlines are. But yeah, the advice is the same. Starting early, planning ahead is always the best. I think in some instances and for some programs, they do allow you to waive fees for example, like the application fee for the program, and it's a lot of the time a matter of simply writing to the program and explaining that, you know, you can't pay the application fee for the department application, the academic application, and you know, they usually are quite understanding about that, especially for, you know, those of us coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, coming from, you know, perhaps developing countries, you know, where you might not have those kind of resources on hand. You might not have US dollars, you might not have a credit card, all of which I completely understand, and which I didn't have either. So it's nothing to be ashamed of, but you can speak to the department directly, send them an email, tell them I can't afford to pay for this, so they will waive the application fee for that. But I think for the standardized tests, I'm not sure if that's an option, so that's something that, again, you will have to look into. And yeah, I tried personally, I've mentioned this in my previous video, to avoid institutions that required me to write the TOEFL, but I know that that may not be an option for many of us. I was lucky in that a lot of the programs that I wanted to get into in a lot of the schools that I applied to gave us the option of, you know, just simply testifying whether or not we are fluent in English, and that was all that was required. You just tick a box that says I'm a fluent or a first English language speaker, and then that was all that was required. Again, that might not be the case. You may not have that option, and some of the stuff you will only find out once you actually get into the application. So once you start filling out the application form online, then you will see the different options that they give you. So I can't always answer, because people send me emails and they're like, I'm applying into this program, am I supposed to write the TOEFL? If it's not in the law school, or you're not applying to the LLM, I basically have no idea. The only way you can find out is to ask someone who's in that program, or send the department an email requesting clarification around these issues. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to send the department emails, or send Knight-Hennessy emails if you have no idea what's going on, or there's, you know, an instruction that you don't understand. But again, if you start early, then you have time to get those clarifications and make the necessary changes if you have to. I'm trying to whiz through this, so this is not a super long video. Someone asked me about choosing prep programs for a successful international legal career, or whatever it is you're applying for, and I did not have to do the LSATs, and I did not have to purchase any books or any additional materials in order to prep me for either the application or, you know, for the Knight-Hennessy application. I was lucky for that. So if you do have to write the GRE, the GMAT, the MCAT, or the LSAT, then I would say for sure there are additional resources. You can find them online. You can find them on I think US Aid, I forget the name of the organization that assists students in foreign countries who are trying to apply into the US, there is an organization. I will try to link it somewhere here if I can remember the name. But they do offer a lot of these resources. But again, like I said, you can find them. You just Google, I don't know, LSAT prep materials, and you probably would be able to find a whole bunch of stuff. And I do advise that you do that, because some of these exams ask questions in a different way that especially international students that we're used to, and they you know, or you might need to you know, to prepare a little. Finally, and I've just whizzed through this, so if you need any more clarification, feel free to drop me an email or a message or anything like that. But the final thing is that people ask me all the time about the 8 improbable facts that are included in the Knight-Hennessy application. So the Knight-Hennessy application requires you to list 8 improbable facts about yourself, and I think what really throws people off with that is they think it's a trick question. They think Knight-Hennessy is trying to like catch them out. You know, assume the best of the people who are on the admissions committee. They're trying to get to know you, and this is quite a unique application. Of all the scholarship applications that I filled out, this one is very unique because it really is, it requires you to introspect. It requires you to, you know, think about why it is you want to go to Stanford and why it is you want to be a Knight-Hennessy scholar in the first place. But it has this way of, it's fun, you know, it's a fun application. They're interesting things. It's very unusual. It's not like anything you would have ever done before, and I think that that's a good thing. So approach it from that angle. Approach it from a light-hearted perspective and an open-minded perspective. With the 8 improbable facts, it literally could be on 8 things that people wouldn't guess about you, or that I wouldn't know about you unless I actually knew you, right? So one of the things that I included was that I had read Jane Eyre 8 times, which, you know, I love Jane Eyre. It's one of my favorite books, and I've read it like at least 8 times, and so I put that as an improbable fact. But it could be anything. It could be places you've been to, or like bones you've broken, surgeries you've had, skills that you have, like maybe you can lick your elbow or something ridiculous like that. It can be as fun and as serious as you want. It can be about your research or your academic interests. It could be about your life. Anything that you think is unusual or quirky or interesting about yourself, you can list as one of your 8 improbable facts. It's not a trick question. There is no right or wrong answer. It's just a way that the admissions are trying to understand who you are as a whole person. And a trick that I would say helped me was I asked some of my friends, guys, what do you think is interesting about me? What's improbable? You know, or like what is interesting about me? And they were able to list a couple of things that I ended up including in the 8 facts. So use your friends, use your family members, people that know you, because they will be able to highlight things that you might not be able to think of instantly. Yes, so as I said, I've whizzed through that. I hope this is helpful. Whether you're applying in this cycle or in the next cycle, whether you have already applied and are thinking of reapplying, if you need someone to tell you whether you can do this, I'm here to tell you you can do this, okay? I know that it's scary. I know that you might have read some of the bios of the people who get into Knight-Hennessy and you think, oh my god, this could never be me. And I'm here to tell you that it can be you. I was that person who was reading those bios 2 years ago and thinking this could never be me, and yet here I am. So let's just get that out the way right now. You definitely can get in, but the only way you can get in is if you actually try, right? And the only way to do that is to write the application and, you know, give yourself a shot. So yeah, all the best. Remember, if you don't remember anything from this video, remember that it's 2 different applications. The deadline is the 14th of October this year, and you can do it. So I will see you guys in the next video. If you like this video, then thumbs it up. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Remember to hit the notification bell down below for more videos. I am coming back to give you guys an update on my life and what I've been up to for the last few months. It's been a bit crazy, but I am coming back with new content hopefully soon, and so I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, bye.